are listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve Jenny and his satanic assistant, Alex Houdini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
Yeah, like I said, lots of problems.
There you go. And I'm
Oh,
not in
man.
my studio myself because I am actually 3D printing in my studio
Oh, yeah,
tonight.
you and your
So,
new 3D printer. That's right. I forgot
oh
about
my
that.
God, you should see.
We're
I 3D printed myself a Joker bust,
Oh, really?
and oh my God, I can't wait for it to be really all done. It's really beautiful. I'm getting back into my creative drive.
Yeah.
Uh, I will 3D print for a while, and afterwards I'll get back in editing mode. But it is so cool.
Just as long as you don't start 3D printing images of you. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually that's feasible, but I won't go there. I won't go there.
Anyways, I want to apologize for the late start. Like I said, I was having technical issues on this side. The network was down, and it it looks pretty stable now. But I'm hoping we don't have any issues.
Probably because
Um,
of those solar eruptions we had.
who knows? Who knows? I know of late I've had issues, and I had to deal with the provider a few times, and it's been a pain in the butt. But anyways, I don't want to waste any time, Jeff. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio here
One?
on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course here on our YouTube channel. And I think we're on Twitch as well. Yeah, we're on Twitch tonight for some. Yeah, we're on
Oh,
Twitch. But
Twitch.
anyways,
My first experience on Twitch.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
But I do want to bring in our guest
yeah,
James
yeah.
Mitchell. Hey James, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know
Good
what? I'm
evening.
absolutely apologizing for the
Nah,
uh
man, expect things to go wrong and you'll be okay, you know? So,
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's a story, but I mean, we've been through this many times. It's been hectic over the last little while with this network I'm with now. It's a pain in the butt. But anyways, we'll do the best we can. Everything looks good. Yeah, I'm just double checking now. I want to make sure the radio network
did you
is
guys wish your mothers a happy Mother's Day today?
yeah,
Yes. Even my mom came by.
heavily for my mother. She passed away a
Yeah,
couple of years
yeah.
ago. But yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, okay, we're good to go. I just wanted to make sure everything was good on the radio network as well, but everything is good.
Good.
Guys, we're good. Thank you, everybody in chat, in the YouTube chat. Everybody in YouTube. Anyways, Jeff, I just say something quickly.
Yes.
Say test, test, test.
Test 1, 2.
I was having issues with the audio, but you're good. You're good. Good.
Good. All right.
James,
Yes, sir.
James, thank you for coming on.
Again, thanks for having me. This is awesome. This is
um,
awesome.
you, I really enjoyed the documentary. I finished it off today. Finally, I had some time to finish it off, and I want to say, great job, man.
Thank you. Thank
Great
you.
job. But
And
but
I watched it as well, and it's very good and very interesting story.
very,
Nah,
very.
it's crazy you know, when I started doing this, I had no idea. How could you about where it was going to go? You know.
Exactly. But before we get into the documentary, I want to sort of get the listeners and so on, viewers and blah blah blah. where did it come from? I mean, why the paranormal? Why this for you? Where did it all start?
Um, I've always been interested in paranormal stuff ever since I was little.
Hmm.
I would watch Unsolved Mysteries with my dad back when Robert Stack was the host, and I was always drawn to the paranormal stuff. Sightings, that was another show that was on in the 90s that I
Yep.
remember. It was very limited when we were
Hmm.
kids, but whenever it was on, I was always there. So I've always had an interest in it. And of course, when all the TV shows started happening back in the early 2000s, that got me excited about, wow, this is something that's, there's an abundance of stuff coming out. And I just found it interesting. I was like, well, I always wanted to kind of do a ghost hunt, if you
Hmm.
will.
Yeah.
But, trying to reach out to other groups and stuff just wasn't, you need to be able to trust the people that you're with. So they never would respond. And I'm an audio engineer. Like that's really like where a lot of my expertise is.
Okay.
I've been doing audio since I was like 15, 16 years old, recording in bands and going to the studio. Back then, we were still taping to ADAT tapes.
Oh, I remember those. And it's funny. I bring this up quite often too. A lot of people I know in the paranormal, a lot of friends of mine are musicians, and they're
Mhm.
really, really intrigued with the paranormal, and especially with the audio side of the paranormal. So
Right.
it doesn't surprise me. So,
Yeah, and so I realized at some point that if I was ever going to do it, I was just going to have to do it myself. And I had
Mm,
recently, well, I would say it's been about 10 years now. I've been friends with Luke Millette, who
mhm.
I discovered just again going through the paranormal iceberg on YouTube. I found him, and I felt a sense of genuineness from that guy.
Mhm.
And so, that's why I reached out to him, and our friendship developed over video games and movies and things like that. None of it was paranormal related really in the end. He helped me a lot with the self-help journey. And anyway, he became one of my best friends, and I knew that he was someone that I could trust and had done this before.
Mhm.
Stumbling across Kent's channel was just kind of, I mean, I watched a lot of Nuke's top fives and other top five, top channels and stuff. And I
Yeah.
found him, and it intrigued me. And I realized that he was kind of approachable. He was still, he was 30,000 subscribers. So your chances of getting his attention seemed a little bit higher.
Mhm.
And from there, it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah, it's what is it? The his Luke's series now on YouTube.
Ghost tapes.
Ghost tapes.
Ghost tapes.
That's it. That's it. I have to watch those. I kind of glanced over. I didn't really get into them, but I need to watch them and have a look. Intriguing. Um, but I think what struck me the most about this, I guess, your approach, James. Is it James or Jimmy? What do you prefer?
My friends call me Jimmy, so you can
Okay,
call me Jimmy.
okay, Jimmy. So the approach, I mean, the no nonsense approach. Look at I can't stand people who present an aura of trickery, if you will.
Right.
Look, we're all trying to be honest and trying to figure out what exactly is going on.
Hmm.
And let's get rid of the parlor tricks and all that crap, and get down to the nitty gritty. Something that's pretty much knocked us to the stone age, and we haven't really for many years. I don't think we've really advanced too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
It's
be
all
honest,
stale.
it's all
Very
stale.
stale.
And I guess, I mean, the only really thing is, okay, are we really going to know anything until,
Mhm.
our time comes and we pass over, what happened, sort of thing? Is
Mhm.
that going to be all the answers to the paranormal? I mean, what, what are you genuinely looking for in the paranormal yourself?
Um, I guess I don't know. I guess I'm just playing with things I probably shouldn't be playing with. I don't know,
Yeah.
But do you have
Uh,
like some kind of you
like a
want to
drive.
know?
Sure, I
Like,
think everybody does. I think there's a natural curiosity. I had some things happen to me growing up that were
Yeah.
strange. You know, I had some strange things that I grew up in a farmhouse in the middle of like a cornfield,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
there
wow.
was some history on the property that my mother would talk about, my uncle would talk about, that they would see what they determined to be a northern soldier from the Civil War
Mhm.
in their home, and they're not the kind of people. And we're talking about old farm people that no nonsense, very hardworking. They wouldn't make up stories about that kind of thing.
mhm.
And I guess having strange occurrences of my own, audio things. I've seen a couple of things that I couldn't explain. So I know what I've experienced, and I know that what I see on YouTube, like you were saying, a lot of the people that are just putting on a facade or putting on a show.
Mhm.
I started, I guess, knowing that it's real. There's like a part there to me that I felt I needed to defend, because I see these people faking things, and then it's causing trouble
Mhm.
for it to be kind of taken a little bit more seriously, you
Yeah.
know. And I just, I don't have room, because I've been fooled enough. You know, how many times have you seen something, you're like, wow, that's really phenomenal, and and then you find out, oh, this is trickery, and now you feel silly because you believed it. I got tired of that too. So I just, as far as defending what paranormal activity is, or trying to present it accurately, that's kind of, I want to be true. There's nothing worse in the world than being well, I mean, being a liar is one of the worst things in the world that you can be.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially with something like this.
Yeah,
Especially when you're doing this, you're not just lying to people, you're lying
right.
to yourself, because
Yeah,
we're mostly do it because we want to know answers.
yeah, exactly. And people like that make it more difficult to reach other people who are also looking for answers and want to know.
Exactly.
So why Kent Burris and the Lamb House? What drove you to say, hey, look at I want to do a documentary
This
on this?
house in
The
particular,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, when I first glanced on it, I'm like, wow, this is pretty intriguing. I could see the intriguing aspects of what might have been going on, or what he was making people believe was going on. But why start there?
It was a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
I really could have chose anything. I
Mhm.
mean, I was limited on funds,
Yeah.
like how much money is this? A lot of places want, like Waverly Hills, they want $1,000 or more a
Yeah,
night. Last I looked,
exactly.
back 10 years
Yeah.
ago, or
Yeah.
Conjuring House now, which is out of control. So I guess he was approachable. Again, it was something that he seemed like, his story seemed really interesting. It's just like this average guy who didn't seem to be the kind of guy that would even have a YouTube channel. He just seemed like the least likely kind of person to have any kind of reason to be faking anything. But at the same time, I'm more skeptical of people than I am of ghosts,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I really hope this is the real deal. I really want this to be real. But if it isn't, then I'm going to take a step that I don't see other, or almost like a lost art of debunking and
Yeah.
and
mhm.
bringing it back to reality. So I was prepared for that. It's just the way the universe guided me, was just, here's Kent Burris and the friends that it's just nuts. The friends that I've made from this, um, being able to help tell David Sears' story in a respectable way, and give him some closure, on the stuff that he went through.
Mhm.
It just seems like this was just, I guess, the cards that were dealt for me, and I've got to play them the best I can, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
When you contacted him to investigate his house, like, it was his house. This was his haunting. What was your reaction when he said, when you asked to investigate his house, and he said yes?
Oh, I was like, you know, yes, like this is gonna happen. Now all I have to do is raise some money to go and uh
Were you kind of
you know,
surprised because
yeah,
most
absolutely.
bankers won't really allow paranormal
Right.
investigator into their houses, but this guy said, like, yes, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean the fact that he was, because it is kind of strange. Here I am, you've never met me before. I'm just some guy reaching out saying, I've got this idea for a documentary. I'd like you to be the subject. I think looking back on it now, I think it was, it's exactly what he wanted. I mean, he had other people come into his home. I think King Frostmare came the weekend after I was there. So it was I wouldn't let somebody in my house that I don't know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
unless they were
Yeah.
somebody that was kind of reputable. So yeah, it was definitely, I had a 50-50 shot. And
And you said the guy like had 30,000 followers on YouTube.
yeah,
That's
Hmm.
quite of a good following. So,
sure.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's still 30,000 is way more than I have on any channel that I've ever done, and the fact that he was making his way up. I think this was at the right at the initial impact. His channel started blowing up all over YouTube at about that time that I reached out to him. So it was just before things started kind of, because he's at like 230 now plus.
Oh
oh
wow.
wow.
Yeah. So I got him at the right time, and I just reached out to him on Facebook. I found the page there. I found his name, and then I just sent him a message, and he responded pretty directly. He was very, prompt with that and ready to go. I mean, we had to work some things out. Originally, I was going to go like in October because I had reached out to him initially, I think in the early summer of 2019, and was hoping to get there around October, but couldn't make that happen. January, which was the coldest time to go to
Yeah.
Maine.
Man.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I drove there from Indiana. I
Oh
drove.
wow.
It was exactly 1,200 miles from my
Jeez.
driveway to the hotel.
Wow.
And the whole drive, I'm like, gosh, I wonder where this is going, because I was by myself and just kind of preparing for because I'd never done an investigation before. I never ever
Oh
had done
wow.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And coming from Indiana, in Indiana, you have lots of places, lots of haunted places. Just to name a few, the Monroe House, Randolph
Sure.
County
Yeah.
Infirmary, the church where Jim Jones received his
Yeah.
first Bible. But you decided to go all the way to Maine, investigate a house owned by a guy claiming to be haunted.
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense.
No, but it's really interesting, and what fascinates me, it's the fact that it's a guy putting his haunting on YouTube,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
go and investigate him, and the guy accepts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
What about the reaction to the documentary? How
His
how how
his reaction, or just the
well
general.
his and in general his and then in general, like I mean, when people watch it, say, hey,
Well, that's been pretty positive.
yeah.
The people that are, I obviously there's always a percentage of people who aren't happy with what you're doing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it's been mostly positive, and the community that I found through, I didn't even know it existed. I was trying to kind of pave a path, I thought,
Mhm.
where I wanted people to think logically and critically, and I not just the people who were viewing these videos, but to the
Yeah.
people who are making them. You know, there's a way that you can do this, and it will be you're doing your due diligence if you do it when you're thinking better, and not just every little sound that you could possibly have no explanation for it, it doesn't mean it's paranormal, you know. But yeah, that's been really positive overall, and that's been wonderful. As far as Kent's response, yeah, that was a lot less positive. And you know, I he got upset because I put David Sear in it. He got upset because I put Marvin Graves in it. And I think really overall he got upset because I'm just calling it for what it is. You know, um, I found that there are things going on there, but I also found that most of it isn't real, and he doesn't like which I understand why he would be opposed to that if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what you're, you know. But yeah, he refuses to sit down. I wanted to do another interview with him and bring all of this to him and say, look, what is it that you have to say about these things? Because I feel that that I would owe him that, and that
Yeah.
the people who are watching who have never heard of him, this is which has happened. There are people who have dropped in and I don't know anything about any of this. For him to not have a chance to address things directly with me is it's unfortunate for him, I think, more so because it kind of, here are these allegations, what do you have to say? I don't have anything to say, and just kind of leave it alone. I just don't think that's the way that you should really handle that situation, but it would be an awful lot of pressure, and I think that's kind of what's holding them back, because I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm not afraid to I'm not going to try and hurt the guy, but I'm, as far as in any way, shape, or form, I'm not afraid to say, look, I don't think this is real. Tell me why I'm wrong, and back that up and see what he says. But he's just not interested in that.
I mean, it takes a lot for somebody to come out and call a spade a spade. Let's be honest, right? I mean, like it really does, and a lot of people who get into this, and Kent, I guess as well, no different, is if you're going to start putting your stuff out there and presenting it as he was or is or whatever, he has to expect that people are going to come out of the woodwork and scrutinize pretty much everything. I mean, you have to endure that scrutiny.
Sure.
If you can't handle it, yeah, you're definitely in the wrong business or hobby,
I mean,
or however you want to do it.
Be able to address the things that are coming to you, whether they're positive or negative. You've got to be able to handle that. And I don't think I guess the way that he handles it is he, writes them off. They get kicked out of whatever chat room that he's, in control of. A lot of his fans come and attack. That's a big thing. Rather than him, do anything directly. He did make a video that he put on his Facebook about the whole situation. And he really he was telling some things about me that weren't, like, he said I had approached him and told him that I had a production company, and I never said it. It's not even something that I would say. It was just, hey, I have an idea for him. He took a lot of liberties to try and make me look like the bad guy with that. And that was, after that was when I really started getting a lot of hate from his fans. But I mean, it is what it is. I have also had fans come over and say, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I can't believe I was taken, that kind of thing. And that's, I guess, really what I'm after, at this point.
Is this,
sorry, Steve.
Is this the first time you've put a documentary together?
Yeah. First, I mean, well, in this kind of way, yeah. I have another YouTube channel where I've done history type video. It's a video game based channel, so I learned a lot of things about research and stuff like that, doing silly videos about Red Dead Redemption or Call of Duty or whatever. I was doing a history of Fallout. That was another one. So I've done stuff like that, but I've never done any kind of project like this.
Well, it's pretty good, man. you did a pretty good job. I
Thanks.
thoroughly enjoyed it. So both
Really,
parts.
really great
I,
job.
I I like the fact that you split them up, and the second part was okay. Here, let's get down to the business here.
Yeah.
That's what I really liked about it. Um, and there, you know what? There's a radio show out there I know that's like that too, and they'll bring on a guest, and you know what? They'll bring on somebody famous, and then all of a sudden it's like, the first half hour is like, oh yeah, okay, this is so and so. Tell us about your TV show or your whatever, your gig, blah blah blah, and make them nice and comfortable. And then the second half, totally, giving the total ribbing. It's like,
Uh-huh.
oh wait a sec, what happened here? We're doing a 360 here. What the hell, man? But
Yeah.
no, and again, like I said, the approach you took, I think, was perfect. You did a great job in the
Mhm.
your scope and the way you presented it. And again, you don't literally say, no, this guy's fake. i
Mm.
think I think there are things that he's doing that doesn't make sense, and
Yeah.
you kind of leave it up still to the people who are watching it,
Sure.
right? and
Sure.
and and it ultimately, unfortunately, is that's the way it is. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of people are like attracted to these people, and they really don't care other than the entertainment value, because I mean that's
Right.
all it
Yeah.
really is in many cases.
They want that creature that jumps over the bed
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But and that's why asking you that were you surprised when you said yes? Because you go there and you in your head you think you're gonna go and expose the faker, but you have great DVPs and you have great evidence
Mm,
Thanks.
throughout
Yeah.
that investigation. Even if you didn't have anything like the walls didn't bleed and you that didn't have that creeper jumping over the bed,
Yeah.
but why do they have to embellish?
mm, yeah.
Why when they have already something really good?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really the question.
Mhm. Yeah,
At
and
the
I don't know
base.
that there is an answer. I mean, there's several whys. There will be a third episode, and I'm
Oh,
working
okay.
on that. Yeah, I'm working on that. I've got some things to put together for it, but I'm trying to have it out early summer at the very latest here. Um, but yeah, thank you for the praise. I didn't. I wanted to shoot it differently than other. I didn't want it to be a paranormal, like a ghost hunting show. I wanted
Mhm,
it to be like an actual documentary. I've seen
mhm,
things like Hellier was actually kind of um, an inspiration. The way that the guy Carl Pfeiffer filmed that
mhm, yeah,
is really good.
it is. Yeah.
There's no night vision shots, and I that's part of why I chose to go that route with mine, because when you have these night vision shots, since they're monochrome, those can be altered.
Mhm,
And I wanted to be able to make sure that any evidence that I brought in as that I mean, everyone's going to question everything, but I wanted
mhm,
to be satisfied with the evidence that I was presenting, that I know personally there's nothing there that was hoaxed, or to be able to debunk it would be a bit more difficult.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I another guy that was interesting to me is the guy that did the Bob Lazar Area 51 and Flying Saucers. That documentary, the way that that
Mhm,
guy did that was really interesting. That was shot over 10 years. Um, I've been doing this for 4 years. I did everything when I was there. I did it all in 3 days. I did all the investigation in 3 days, which was really just a few hours a day, because he
Did you
has a
offer
wife
at
and
did you offer at a point of time like tell asking him, can we come back? Like we'll pay you a hotel room and we'll be
um
alone in the house?
no, it's his family home, and his wife really kind of hates the whole situation.
Okay.
So I felt like that probably wouldn't be something that he would even go for.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I'm still kind of in shock that he's allowing me to come over to his house in the first place. That would have been phenomenal if he wouldn't have been there. I mean, there were times where he left the house, but he wasn't gone, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was the project itself was something that I wanted to, if I was going to do some sort of paranormal thing or any kind of, whenever I do any kind of project, because I'm again, a musician. So
Mm.
I take a lot of time into the project and I make sure that if the presentation is good. Now, of course, the whole thing at the beginning where I'm talking in that low voice, which
Hey, we
really
need that. We need that.
it's not
Uh,
that much different than my normal voice. I think it's about a half octave lower, but the idea behind that when I was doing it was that detective 30s 40s noir,
oh yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And then I don't think it really comes across because there's a lot of, I get hate for that. It's like, why are you talking like that? You sound like you're made of Xanax, But I guess I just, there's a seriousness to it, and I take it seriously because, again, I don't like the idea of people faking and messing with people's emotions.
Yeah.
And once I learned what was going on with David Sear, that was when the whole thing took a complete 180 into where it was going, because I had suspicions of Kent the whole time that I was there, just the way that he would say and be and present and everything, and he was like this ringleader, but he kept bringing up David Sear. He didn't call him by name, but it was, that guy that runs the Hoax of Carmel Main channel and all this.
Mhm.
And once I reached out to him and I heard him tell his story, that interaction, the interview, is literally the first time that he and I spoke, other than me saying, "Hey, I'm doing a documentary. Would you like to be interviewed for that?" So
Mhm.
I have like at least an hour, I think, an hour and a half of me and him talking, and it's our first ever interaction, which I think once everything's wrapped up, I'm going to start putting out some of those things in their entirety, some of the interviews in their entirety. So if people want to check those out, they can. But again, I'm going to wait until after everything's,
Now,
probably after the third episode.
David's the guy that was digging and they found the
Yeah.
bones. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Found the bones, right?
Found the bones.
Yeah.
There's another one. Yeah.
Mhm.
That.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, like I said, one thing that drew me to the documentary too is and again, things change when you watch a documentary, but
Mhm.
the whole, I don't know what shadow person, blah blah whatever, throughout the house that he was finding and supposedly scaring the shit out of him. I
Mhm.
mean, real or not, I mean, if somebody's gonna watch this, they're gonna get freaked out.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
Sure. It's brilliant. He's done a really good job with those
Yeah.
videos. I mean, obviously, because there are so many people out there who really, even today, still think they're the real deal. I just a quick interjection on that.
Yeah.
I am not opposed to the idea that he may have seen something like the real deal. He may have seen something like that once and didn't have a camera and decided like to make like a recreation of it and then pass it
To
off as
reenact
something.
it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Yeah,
at
reenacting,
and
yeah.
try
least
to pass it off. I don't have a reason to throw him a bone on that. I'm willing to do so,
You're
because
willing, yeah.
I know that there are things going on at that house, and I have video that shadow that went behind the chair. I
Mhm.
don't have an explanation for that. I don't have an explanation for that. There was nothing there that should have made that shadow. So I guess that's probably part of the reason why I'm thinking that maybe he might have seen something like that once.
Yeah, I mean, I've had I guess an encounter with what seemingly seemed to be a shadow person, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and at the time I didn't know it was. I thought it was a regular person, but then when it came down to it, it's like, oh, okay, wait a sec, it's not one of the people that are here. What's going on?
Were you out?
Yeah.
Were you out looking for that, or did you just happen to?
No, I was working with a historical society on an old pioneer cemetery,
Okay.
and they were doing some mapping of the people that are buried there, the families that are buried there, and it had been abandoned for years, and the city didn't really take much, care. And we were up one night because I gave them another option and trying to sort of understand what's going on. Went up, just did some photography and some audio, just taking some audio samples and stuff like that. And it's just a small little place. And I'm walking. We're walking towards the top part. It's up a hill, and there was about what, five of us, and the other three went to the other side, to the front part of the cemetery. Hey, Della, how are you? And myself and another person veered off into the back corner where there was a bunch of family children plots. And walking, and I'm snapping pictures, and it was quite foggy. It wasn't overly foggy, but foggy enough. And there's only a street light behind us. And as I'm taking the photos, I'm like, okay, something's odd here, because I was reviewing them right away, and I'm like, okay, there's three people, or sorry, there's two people in front of me, and when I'm snapping a picture, there's only two. I mean, only one. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? So I snapped the picture again, same thing. Okay, so who's in between us here? So I call out to the guy in front, and I said, hey, where's so and so? He's down at the front with the other two. Okay, so who's in between us?
Uh-huh.
Hey, and as soon as I said that, the shadow or the person veered off into the back corner and completely disappeared.
Wow.
It was the oddest thing I'd ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah.
So my brain's telling me, okay, I need to try to recreate this. Okay, it's just maybe some trickery of the lighting and the fog. Maybe it's just my shadow casting, whatever. I recreated it, or I tried to recreate it, couldn't recreate it. I said, okay, then what? Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the weirdest thing, right?
Yeah. That's pretty chilling.
Yeah,
Chilling.
exactly.
Sure. Like, what the thing is I think when stuff like this happens,
Mm,
it's not so much scary as it is like, did that just happen? What just happened?
exactly.
You know,
You're just trying to understand the situation, and you can't.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in my experience anyway. It's been like, what just happened? I mean, I've had one time, I'll tell you something.
Mhm.
I've told this story a couple of times.
Yeah.
I have a phone through a phone plan with a friend of mine,
Mhm.
and I've had it for years and years. And this is back before Facebook Pay or PayPal really. I mean, PayPal was around, but it wasn't
Mhm.
used the way it is
Yeah.
now so much.
Mhm.
More of an eBay thing back then.
Yeah.
So my friend would come over every month to get the phone bill money,
Mhm.
and I was expecting him. I had a dog at the time, Shaka, and which she was the best dog. That dog was so smart. And anytime that somebody would come in the house, she would alert, she would bark.
Mhm.
And we were laying in bed, and I heard the back door open, and she heard that back door open. Now we're in bed, and she's tired, so she's just like, woof, woof. But it was enough to be like, hey, I hear that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They walked through the house, they walked through my kitchen, they walked through my hallway, and stopped right in front of my bedroom. And this guy, this friend of mine, he's very, very vocal,
Mhm.
and no one was saying anything. And I was like, that's weird. And so I like opened the door thinking my friend's there, and there was no one there. The house was empty.
Hmm.
But when I opened that door, I still felt like someone was in the house with me. That's probably the most intense audible thing that I've
Mhm.
had happen, where it was something that was affecting the environment that I was in.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, the dog heard it, so that kind of confirmed for me that there was something there.
Yeah, it's interesting when again these are the little tidbits that make you wonder. I mean, when I started investigating, it was a research thing in the beginning,
Mm,
and I wanted to know. I think, if anything, how would one investigate the paranormal?
yeah,
And back then, it was, again, there was no TV shows. It was all books and theory. I mean, that's all it is, really, theory.
sure.
But I basically started taking things that I'd learned in film school, and not only that, but learning with taking a few courses on investigative work,
Mm,
and that really helped. I found that taking those courses actually, you really, because people, when they say they're going to go out and investigate the paranormal, they really haven't got a clue what to
yeah,
look for,
no,
other than what they see on these TV programs and YouTube programs, and so on and so on.
right.
So there's no real good direction, if you will.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too, because again, it was like this is the first time I'd watched stuff. I had an upper hand because I had a friend who had made some shows and a couple of documentaries of his own.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, when we don't really focus too much on EMF in the documentary at all. I mean, we have the meters, but we don't really talk about them so much.
Yeah.
They were going off the whole time we were there too. I mean, literally always reading on the second and third light. So there wasn't, it just, and that by itself doesn't mean anything. That, our phones were on, while we were investigating. So that whole aspect of research for us, if you want to call, it that, was tainted right from the beginning. Um, but yeah, I mean, for me, EVPs have always been, I think, the most intriguing thing to me.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hate them. I adore them. I don't. It's something about hearing a voice and the potential of it being something that wasn't there talking to you. I mean, and when you hear something that
Hmm.
is not supposed to be there, like
Yeah.
for me, the first one that I caught was the "I can't answer you" EVP.
Mm.
It's the first
Yeah.
EVP
First
that we
one you ever
shared.
captured. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and that I know of, at
Mm.
least, and uh when I heard that, because I had watched all of the footage, all of the camera footage, I'd listened to all of the audio, and I didn't put any kind of uh um denoising on it or anything. I just let the camera hiss and all that. Sorry, there's a moth flying at me. Um, I didn't do anything. I just watched it raw, and then when I put some denoise on it, just to kind of, all right, I'm gonna have to get rid of this hiss, and that was all I was trying to do. I was sure I didn't capture anything at all.
Mm.
And then when I heard that woman say that, like that, my stomach dropped a bit. My stomach dropped a bit, because it was like, oh my gosh, like that's a voice. That's a
Mm.
woman's voice.
Yeah.
And then there were several voices that were happening during that whole thing at that time. And they're very clear. They don't just sound like, I mean, I've heard some people say like, all I hear is shuffling of feet, but I mean, we all hear different things differently, I suppose. For me, I mean, they seem very, very enunciated and almost tonal, you know.
Yeah.
When I was first doing this, my first project was on Adobe CS6, which
Oh,
is very
wow.
old.
Yeah.
I was holding out, man. I was holding out. And the codec on that must have been different, because the EVPs sounded better on
Mhm.
CS6, which was unfortunate that happened. I don't know. It just seemed like they sounded a bit more whispery in Creative Cloud. I don't know what that is, but when I first heard that on CS6, it was a woman in the room. You could hear her clearly. And it definitely sounded like "I can't answer you." But now I feel like that it's not as clear as it was. It could have been like "I keep asking you," or, I've heard a lot of people say what they seem to be hearing too, which is also kind of fun when it comes to EVPs. What are people hearing?
Yeah. I mean, the approach that I've always taken, especially running a society, if you will, and if somebody has captured something during an investigation, or myself, I will put it out to each of the members and say, let me know what you hear, your thoughts, whatever.
Right.
But just send your answer back to me.
No, that's the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, don't send it to any of the other members, because I don't want their thinking contaminated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I really love about it, exactly, is the fact that, oh wow, like, 3 or 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 pretty much are hearing the same thing. You're like, okay, that's definitely what it's saying. Then
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of, because they had such an archaic classification system out there, A, B, C.
Right. Right.
I never agreed with that sort of standpoint when it came to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess when you're doing when you find anything that's interesting like that,
Mm.
running it to the people that are involved, and getting their input on it, because everyone thinks differently. And, that's the best way to go through the debunking process on your own, right?
Yep.
There is, what could this potentially be? Where were you at this time? What, taking into account everything that you can before saying, okay, this might be a little bit more than just some sort of natural thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very easy to get excited, especially in the moment.
Oh yeah.
When stuff is going on. And that was very difficult, I would say. For me, it was one of the most difficult things, was keeping composure. There were times where it was like, okay, like, this is exciting. Like when the radio stopped working, when all of a sudden there's a part where we're doing the spirit box upstairs. It's on the second episode, and as Kent's walking out, the radio shuts off. Really, it was interesting. And then I realized what had happened was, there was a strange connection, and it just something must have moved at just the right time, and it just caused the speakers to not be receiving the signal from the spirit box. That's all it was. And we
And I mean,
figured
they're
that out.
Bluetooth, right?
His
Were they?
no, they were directly in. He has,
Okay.
at the time, he was using a little Fender combo amp, a really small Fender
Oh,
combo amp,
okay.
and it was ran through some guitar pedals, like denoise guitar pedals and stuff like that. So it had less. I mean, there was still that sound, but there was some noise reduction and stuff that kind of cleared some things up. He had a really interesting setup when it came to that. But at the time, we were using it through these old PC speakers that he just was like, oh, I'm just going to try using these now. Okay, that's fine, And then that happened, which, I didn't elaborate on in the documentary. I kind of think that part spoke for itself. I was excited at the moment. I'm like, well, that's weird. Why would that happen? But really, it was just some sort of natural thing.
That is weird.
Yeah.
So it's like the part 2, and again, when you guys are down in the basement part there, and is with the camera shuts off.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. And I guess you're kind of going on, oh, he's got like some sort of remote control in his pocket.
Yeah, I would assume. I have to assume. I mean, his hand's in his pocket. It doesn't really mean that it is, but at the same time, if I'm viewing this from a point of view that ghosts aren't real, I'm going to see something like that. I'm going to see that. And say, so I had to call that out, because I'm seeing what could potentially be trickery. Again, whether it was or wasn't, I don't know. But I do know, again, that those cameras they all come with remote control. There's just a little handy cam that he had,
Interesting. Anyways, we're gonna have to take a short break on the New Visions Radio Network. When we come back, more, I guess, with James or Jimmy. James or Jimmy Mitchell.
Yeah, pick one.
And all the links are in the YouTube description here for Ghost Quest, and of course the part 1 and 2, and like you said, coming up soon, probably in the summer sometime, maybe part 3, right?
Yeah, definitely a part 3.
Awesome. All right, don't go anywhere, folks. You're watching and listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course here on YouTube. And again, I'm having issues. You're gonna love it. Here we go.
I love you regardless of your issues, my friend.
Thank you.
What happened?
Good evening. I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada. I founded in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now. And I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. And, there's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials.
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisions.radio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding, their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
All right, and welcome back to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, live here on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course on YouTube. Let me just you gotta love technology. There we go.
It's great when it works.
Great when it works. Hey, Bud Files, how are you? So I don't know, Jeff's not back with us yet. Normally my normal co-host is Alex. He's going through a moving period, so he'll be back with us soon, but Jeff's been filling in for him for the last few weeks. So
Sure.
yeah, so where do you go from here with this documentary now? I mean, your look at the paranormal now. I mean, are you gonna do more investigations now that you've done this sort of thing? Like, what is it, or you're just going to keep doing sort of documentary sort of work?
I will do other projects. I don't have anything lined up for whatever's next as far as paranormal goes.
Yeah.
I might do something closer if I do choose to do something that would make more sense.
Yeah.
But I think if I were to do it this way, there's only so many times I can do it this way before people start knowing about what I'm up to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to get clever on how I would go about it. There are some other people that I would like to do something like this on. I'd like to hang out with Paranormal. What are they called? Paranormal Nightmare.
Okay.
The Foreman brothers.
Yeah.
They're only about 2 hours away from me.
Okay.
So that's a lot closer. They're just in Ohio and I'm in Indiana. Again, they're much bigger, and I don't know how I would go about that. That's something that I would like to do. I can't say that that's something that's going to happen, but I would love for that to be the next project. I got to tell you, I didn't know how long it would take to make a documentary.
It takes a while. Takes a while.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, and the fact that I'm still living this documentary right now. I'm still learning things, and I'm still interviewing people, and I'm still talking to people that have been associated with Kent and stuff like that. So this is still happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some ideas for something else, and not paranormal related. It probably, obviously, if I'm going to do it on the Ghost Quest channel, it's going to be paranormal related. But I'm a big fan of this band called the Afghan Wigs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big fan. I love Greg Dooley. He's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
And his drummer for the first lineup of the Afghan Wigs he just lives just south of me, I think in Kentucky. He's
Mm.
also, and he's actually, we're friends on Facebook and we talk.
Mhm.
So I'd kind of like to do maybe like a 20-minute long thing where I go down there. He paints houses now. That's his
Yeah.
job, and he has a son, and they do music and stuff. But I'm kind of interested in his point of view about disappearing, from the original lineup, and then when the Afghan Wigs came back, and as the Afghan Wigs, like 20 years after their last album,
Yeah.
why he wasn't a part of it, because he very well should have been. He was part of the original group.
Yeah.
It's like having, I mean, a Kiss concert without Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley. You still do it,
Yeah.
but should you?
Yeah.
And then there was a story about, I don't know if you've heard this, but back in like 2012, there was this text that started showing up on people's phones all across America, North America. And it was something like, God came into my body as a body, my exact same size. It was just this ramblings that was absolutely crazy. And it's a huge internet kind of like a novelty in a way.
Mm.
And it's
Mhm.
about this guy named Bill Hickman, he's got some issues, but he's harmless. The way I found him was I actually came across his van for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and it said, God came into my body as a body, my exact same size. He had scribbled all over this van and his phone number. So I just
Hmm.
reached out to him and was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in your story. Would you like to meet me in a very public place and have answer some questions and be a part of a documentary? So these are things that I'm interested in. I
Yeah.
have a lot of interests, and whether or not other people find them interesting, I guess it's all about how I present it. But I think there's a lot to that guy's story, especially that one could be a bit longer, and he went through a lot of travesty. Obviously, he's got an interesting background. If he's
Mm.
texting everybody in America about how God came into his body, that just seems a little eccentric.
Well, you know what? There's so many unique stories, and I find, I'm with you on that. The oddities that most people would just like shake off and say, "Mm."
Mhm.
But it's like it's like that story that ran across the internet for the longest time about, does this face look familiar to you?
Right, yeah.
And
Oh,
this is in everybody's nightmare. You've seen this guy in your nightmare. Does this guy look familiar? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff like that is like, yeah, that is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
That is pretty weird, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, it's the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
this, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Y Files,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
they're wonderful
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, wonderful. And they covered that recently. And
Yeah.
that guy really gets down. I mean, he does exactly the kind of
Does a
thing
great
that I
job.
love. Yeah,
Yeah.
where he tells you everything about this and presents it in a very, if I had to liken it to anything, it's almost an Art Bell way, in the
Mm.
sense of he doesn't pass judgment on it. He just presents it as it's told.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
then the last, however many minutes of his video is him explaining how this happened or could have happened. And if he has evidence to back it up, he presents that, and he's just very thorough. So I love that kind of story, those kinds of stories that,
Yeah.
or the cicada story from 4chan, that story where there was this website that is like, if you basically, it was a cryptic thing,
Mhm.
and it had people trying to figure out the code, and you had to go to these certain places in America where these posters were put on the wall, and you had to hit it with your QR code, which would take you to another website where you had to encrypt and figure out the code there, and then it just took you on this chase. And then it was eventually like, we have found the people we are looking for. We appreciate everybody who took their time to do this. And it was like, well, what was that? We don't have the answers to that, and it's still a mystery. No one really knows what was going on with that. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's like back in the day when when I was a kid, there was a couple of radio stations up here, AM radio stations,
Yeah.
that would play the old mystery theater things on, and
Sure.
the shadow and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Listening to that, it was intriguing, and it kind of brought that sort of sense of like, yeah, there are these mysteries, throughout our lives that I want to look into. I want to know more about
Mhm.
them. And again, most people are just like, eh.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Why,
Got better
why do
things
you
to worry
why
about.
why do you want to waste your time doing that for?
Yeah.
Absolutely, uh, uh, Rochelle. Yeah, she's CHFI and CKNY used to, and Chum used to do it too here.
Wow.
And yeah, so yeah, no, I like I said, I've had since doing this radio show, there's been an all like, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of different really odd stories that you just sit there and go, wow, wait a sec, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, one that always comes to mind is this guy, actually a friend of mine, contacted me and said, hey, look at, man, this guy just he bought a property in the middle of nowhere, and he set up a trail cam in his backyard to see what kind of animals are like in the area, sort of thing. And he was noticing, deer and blah blah blah. And then he'd let it run day and night, 24/7, 360, whatever, 356, whatever. And he would go, every once in a while, grab the SD card, put it in his pocket, go home, and just review all the pictures and video and stuff like that. And he came across, uh, you know, a folder for photos that were snapped within 4 seconds of each other.
Hmm.
And he's just like, this is baffling. This just doesn't make any sense. He, the one photo, it's his backyard, and he's got this huge field, and then he's got a forest in the background. And you see the birds and everything else. Okay, maybe the birds are setting the camera off. And then the second photo, there's this really strange anomaly, like that on the top of the photo. And it's like, okay, that's weird. And then the third photo, right by the tree line, at the edge of of his yard, there was like this person in a bubble,
Huh.
hovering above the ground.
And it wasn't John Travolta.
Exactly, right, the boy in the bubble. and then the next one, there's nothing there. And these are all within 4 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
The temperature changes a degree in each for the photos. It's
Wow.
it's the weirdest thing. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to see those.
Or is it Bubble Boy by Jake?
Bubble Boy. Let's see.
Yeah, that's insane. I wonder. I mean, what could that be? What could that be?
That's really,
I have,
really odd.
I have thoughts about ghosts, as in, I'm not even convinced that they're necessarily the spirits of dead people walking around.
No. I mean, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I wonder if there is some sort of non-biological life that we cannot capture or measure. We don't even know what life is, right? We know it is biological, and I mean, obviously microscopic. You've got germs and stuff like that.
And you got many dimensions as well. And
Yeah, I mean, we can't perceive past the fourth. I mean, we can't perceive past the third. So I mean, the fourth
but
dimension, we
even
can't
though
even understand.
if we know there's a third one, there's
absolutely
fourth, there's a fifth.
I do believe again, a lot of this is again, you're going to get into the Akashic record, and you look at frequencies, and I do believe frequencies and the different realms, like the different realms of frequency. I do believe they hold a key answer to a lot of what's going on
Yeah.
through energy, obviously, because I mean we are when you look at the metaphysical sort of world, if you will, the metaphysical sort of realm, and we are constantly dealing with frequencies. Our bodies interact with the surrounding frequencies.
Mhm.
Frequencies can make us sick. They can make us hallucinate, depending on what level or how long or whatever we're exposed to them.
Mhm.
Right? And people don't understand that. But and again, that kind of leads down to the EMF sort of aspect of things. But um, I do believe I do believe that what was it I mentioned a while ago or a few times about ITC and the work that they were doing years ago,
Mhm.
and whether this is true or not, I don't know. There's no way of verifying it right now, but they were doing some audio work, and they apparently made contact with a scientist who they had been working with. And this scientist, what he was saying was that the life that you're in now is a purgatory,
Uh-huh.
and that when you pass through, you become a part of the real life.
Hmm.
Now, whether that's true or not, that's remains to be seen. But I mean, it's kind of a fascinating sort of aspect. I mean, are we really real life? I mean, we don't know. Are we a part of some simulation? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, there's
Yeah.
definitely, I think, lessons to be learned in our physical life
Oh, absolutely.
that will, if I mean, maybe not everybody gets to experience it. We all live life as I've seen it. We all live our lives through the eyes of a child. That person, that little boy that you all were, that I was, is still very much a part of who you are inside of you, and we
Mhm.
see the world through the eyes of a child.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and as we grow, I think growth comes from the people that you surround yourself with. What do those
Mhm.
people want for you? Are they constantly causing chaos in your life? Are they only worried about what their problems are? Or are they more positive influences? They want only the best for you. They want, all those things, I believe, are bringing it back around, part of a frequency.
Mhm.
And if you spend your life trying to get yourself at a higher frequency, I mean, we're at the mercy of what life
Mhm.
throws at us,
Yep.
obviously. But you can take control of your life and
Mhm.
choose. I don't need these people. I don't need this. I don't need that. And I think through that and through realizing that, to me, I think the point of being alive is to ask questions and to talk to each other
Yeah.
and to converse and to learn.
Yeah.
And that's, if I can do that and influence people or affect people in a positive way while I'm here,
Mhm.
that's the best thing that I can do. And of course, be as the best father that I can be for
Mm.
my little boy.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are important to me, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree. And it's we don't understand too that the fact that we are kind of in a prison, if you will, when it comes
Yeah.
to the physical sort of aspect that we live our lives. Everything has to be tangible. It has to be within our senses.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
people don't realize that there are more than the senses that we sort of can understand.
Mhm.
There's a lot more that if we're able to, um, and I kind of get back to it with the saying, this is due to domestication over the years. I mean, those filters that have been put in, at an early age. Now, I mean, children, I think are still kind of new enough that the filters haven't been fully installed, and they do sort of experience, and they do see things, and they do interact with things that we at one point had the ability to do so as well. But because of these filters that have been put upon us, we have lost that ability. Some maybe are able to retain them later in life. Who knows? But I mean, that remains to be seen. But I mean, I think, once these filters have been put in place, it's, it's really a shame that most people will not take the time to try to sort of reverse that sort of thing. And it's not an importance, really,
Right. Well, a
to
lot of them
many.
probably don't even know that they can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're too worried about what society is telling them is important,
Yeah.
or their family, or whoever it is that they're trying to impress.
Absolutely.
I think everybody tends to maybe not realize, but they're living, which is, it's fine to live for your children. Again, it's fine to have a structure in your life, but I think not enough people live for themselves. A
Yeah.
lot of people go to work every day. They live to work. Spending 80 hours because they have to, and all this. I work to live.
Mhm.
I want to
Yep.
be able to do what I want to do. And hey, we need you to come in on Thursday. It's like, well, I wasn't scheduled. You're gonna have to find somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not that
Yeah.
I don't mind helping at times, but just because I helped you once or twice doesn't mean you can come to me every time. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it
you
makes
know,
sense, right?
sure.
Makes sense. But people, yeah, it's yeah, it's a good way of looking at things, and people just don't, they're just so caught up in the day-to-day life that
Yeah. The
it's
day-to-day nothingness, even,
They don't
a lot
exactly,
of
remember
yeah, yeah,
the way to live. It's just they everything became so fast because you just take it back in time and
Mhm,
just not very far, just in the 50s.
yeah,
People
yeah,
were living the moment, the day they were living. Now they're living in the future.
yeah. Or the past,
They,
even for
even the
that.
or
past.
the past, but
Yeah.
they're always like planning or recessing something.
Yeah.
They're
I
not
missed the days of this, or those were the days, or yeah.
exactly.
Reminiscing, yeah. So what do you think? What do you think it'll take to kind of break away or chip away at the paranormal wall, if you will? I mean, what do you think we have to do? What do you think?
I think more people like Beardo is here, or the side eye guy. That guy
Mm.
is phenomenal. I've
Yeah,
been
side eye,
binging
yeah,
him this week.
yeah,
I hadn't given him a shot, and then the first video, I was like, this guy has got it figured out. Like,
yep,
his presentation is so good,
yep,
and it's fun, and
Yeah,
he's not trying to hurt. He's just, here's the facts. This is what I know,
yep,
yeah,
and I love that.
exactly.
yep,
Purple is another wonderful guy who,
Yeah.
he's brilliant at photo, or Premiere
He's an
Pro, and
editor. The
yep,
guy's a
yeah,
video editor. It's his
yep,
yeah,
work.
yep,
So he can see him masking. He can
yeah.
see everything.
He's got that
And
eye.
yeah, and
Yeah, Captain Disillusion, the
that's
same kind of thing.
that's the way they should go. They should work like that, just with facts and just going with what is the essential.
yep,
Not
Yeah.
well, my opinion is my opinion. No, 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 no.
hmm
Everybody's got like an opinion is like where the sun doesn't shine. Everybody's got one, but it's not because you got one, you have to show everybody.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
mostly facts, and then
Yeah.
there's another guy out of the UK too that debunks quite a bit. What's his name? Mythos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I watched a couple of his videos, mostly
yeah,
on Cody
yeah,
and Satori. See,
I
for a minute,
personally I
Cody and
don't like
Satori. Oh yeah, yeah. Cody and Satori. I have to talk about that because once I I watched the same thing everybody else did, the
Yeah,
Sam Colby thing, right?
yeah,
I found out about it through Casper site. And
yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this. I watched the first thing with him because that was the video that he did. And then I watched the others on their own. And I'm
Mhm.
like, man, this is phenomenal. So again, my target comes at the, maybe I should go over there and see, but then they're so blown up. I think
Well,
that's
Oh
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
my friend Matt Benton, he did a documentary on the Conjuring House,
Uh-huh.
and he went really in depth. He went
Was that
really
what's it
the
called?
Harrisville haunting.
Yeah,
The
I
story.
watched that this week. I watched that this week with Joe
Well,
Vitale and Kenny
yeah,
Biddle. And,
Joe
yeah.
and Matt are personal friends, and
Okay, that's cool.
and
I like the way
he's
that they did that.
and he actually right now he's working on another documentary on the Monroe House. And I
Oh, that's
went to the
awesome.
Monroe House, and I I will say this: I love the Monroe House because
Yeah.
the Monroe House will give you every kind of freaking emotions that you want. On the
Hmm.
first floor, everything is fine. You feel good, you got activity, but the energy is good. As soon as you go up the stairs, and everybody I talk to, it's all the same feeling. Everybody feel ominous and they don't feel good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And when they come to the second floor, nobody feels good on the second floor.
Hmm.
I went to freaking Bosnia in the 90s and I was scared on the second floor. I was feeling really uneasy. I was so feeling uneasy that I thought somebody would come out of one of the rooms.
Yeah, you didn't feel alone.
No, and
Yeah.
Matt did great, not a great work on this documentary, and
Yeah,
and
looking forward to
even
that.
and they had a chair moving on the first documentary, and it
Uh-huh.
got debunked, and the guys they went online and say the chair is debunked. That is
Okay.
not paranormal. That
Okay.
and that's what I like about the guys. It's
Yeah.
they go and they show what is essential.
Mhm.
And if something is not actually paranormal, because the guys tried everything except the only thing they didn't try was what happened. It's
Right.
the chair got stuck on the wall, and by the movement of the person, the chair had actually two resting positions.
Hmm.
One kind of reclined and the other one kind of upwards. And when they walked, well, the chair went back to his other
Okay.
resting position. And that's why the guy showed it.
Right.
So
Right.
it, that's the approach you have to. So they went to the Conjuring House. They researched, they contacted Andrea Perrin. They
Right.
went to check all the records. They even checked in the history books what happened there. They found out that skirmishes from the King Philip War happened there,
Right.
and so they went really in depth.
Yeah.
And even though they had activity and they had
Sure.
stuff unexplained, like just like you, like DVPs and stuff, and the guys are just talking, and you hear a voice that it's not
Yeah.
even right there.
Yeah. Because I'm such an advocate for those EVPs, well, any evidence that I provided that I felt was worth, presenting. If there is anybody who can debunk and say, look, this is how potentially this was done, and it would have had to have been practical. It would have had to have been happening right then and there in the room. If anybody can do that, I would definitely uh, take into account, okay, this is possible. Try it myself and see if I can also recreate it, and present that. Make another video and say, look, these EVPs have been debunked. It would break my heart to do so
Hmm.
because I love I feel that those EVPs are real. But if I find out that they're not, then I have to disclose that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I will be doing as soon as I figure out exactly what service I'm going to use, I will put all of the raw files of anything that I felt was paranormal related, anything that I didn't have an explanation for. The full raw files will be available for anybody to download themselves and go and put into their editing software and see, hey, these EVPs are in the audio. There was nothing that was put on in post or anything like that. That's the best thing I think that I can do as far as trying to be as open and as honest as I possibly can. I think it's important that, and that's something I don't see anybody doing. You don't see ghost hunters or ghost adventures or paranormal state or any of these guys. As far as I know, you can't access their raw files.
No. No.
And I think it's important to do that. I did get a website, theghostsofcarmelmaine.com. And right now it's just kind of a placeholder that I have I've got a website up, but the idea is to be able to put those files on that website somehow, whether I use Google Drive or whatever I can to make them accessible for people. But that's something I still have to figure out.
There was a site a long time ago that was doing that was allowing people to upload their files, the raw files, and so on and so on to the central database. What was the name of that site now? Paranormal. Oh man, I can't remember the name of it now. It's been so long. But
yeah, if you figure that out, shoot me a message and I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's at one point Paranormal Planet was doing it, but then they switched over to just doing podcasts. So they got rid of their archives. What the heck was the name of it now? Strangelands? No, not Strangelands. Yeah, when I find it again, I'll shoot you a message. But they were allowing people to essentially, if you had something interesting and you wanted others to sort of analyze it or scrutinize it or whatever else, or sort of so what they did was they allow you to write up like a little write-up of the file and what essentially it was happening, and you could upload it I believe it was a wave into a wave file.
Okay.
Allow it into a wave file or raw file, I can't remember, but yeah, that was a while ago. That was, oh man, that was like 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if they're still around,
yeah,
that they've also upgraded. 2006. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
Certainly, they have a good. If they're still there. I mean, I don't know how much something like that would cost to be able to run something like that, but Google Drive, as the best thing I can think of right now is just using Google Drive.
Yeah.
And allowing people access that way.
Yeah.
So unless I find something better, I mean, it all depends. It just, I mean, I don't have a lot of money to spend on things. So anything that's the cheapest way that I can do it, which is still effective, that's what I'm looking for.
I mean, SoundCloud was good in the beginning, but now they completely restructured and they're garbage now.
Yeah.
I liked SoundCloud in the beginning when they first started up. They were pretty good, but
they're just audio, right? That's just
audio.
Just audio. Yeah, I want to make sure that people can get the video as well, just so that where it is in the documentary and stuff. It's just one of those things that I felt like if I'm going to be as transparent as possible, then this is something that should go without saying. Like, here it is, and there are ways where you can take those raw files and find out if they have been put through an editing program or not.
Well, yeah, the metadata, yeah,
right, yeah. And now also Premiere Pro has this thing where it can detect if there are cuts in your video or if there's been editing done to it. So I've yet to put my files in there and see if it misreads anything. I'm sure things have not everything works perfect right away, but I'm confident enough to say, like, go ahead and put it in there, and you're not going to find any kind of cuts or editing on my stuff when it
Yeah.
comes to the raw files,
Yeah. What there was another program. What the heck was it? I'm yeah, I can't even remember the name of the program right now. But yeah, similar. Yeah, it would allow you, like a photo, it would allow you to run it through the program, and it would tell you if there was any edits or any filters or anything used. Actually, there's a few programs out there and apps that
Right.
will allow you to do that. I'm not too sure if I'm really crazy about the apps, but programs I would prefer to use
Sure.
to analyze photos.
People don't like apps, but sometimes the phone is the most powerful computer that you have, and
That's
people
true.
don't know that.
You look like Walter White right now. Yes. He's cooking up. He's cooking something up there.
And once he started putting on the blue gloves, I was
Yeah,
curious.
yeah. Vinyl time. Oh yeah,
Oh, that's super cool.
that's cool.
That's the Arkham. Looks like the Arkham Asylum version.
Yeah, look like this.
Very cool.
Oh,
Yeah, 3D printing is fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I I had my machine for a week at least, and like my first kilo of resin is gone, but I got 2 transparent ones, so that's good.
Yeah, it's fun getting new toys.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. But it's so fun to make those things, and that those kind of figurine that you will buy them, and it's gonna cost like 45,
Yeah, sure.
$50.
Yeah, expensive.
But I'll do it myself. I'll paint it myself, and
Right.
Keep
yourself busy. Keep your hands busy.
So, James, yeah, we got a few more minutes left there. So what can we look forward to then? Okay, so a little hint at part 3.
So with part 3, I'm trying to figure out the best way to present this. I have the idea right now. I'm still filming certain things.
Mhm.
I will talk with one of the guys from the paranormal group that came to Kent's house before he ever had a
Mhm.
YouTube channel, and let him talk about some things, and how a lot of this has affected him or his outlook on stuff. I have to resolve this in such a way that I think the big question is, why did I even, again, like he asked, why drive 1,200 miles, to do this? Without giving too much away, I mean, I think when you have evidence like this that could have been something great for you,
Mhm.
it could have really, if you had stuck to your to scruples that were based on integrity,
Mhm.
you could have really had something. But
Yeah.
because you have tainted it with this,
Mhm.
no matter what evidence it is, whether it's yours or anybody else's that comes out of that house, it is
It's gonna be questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I am so convinced that the stuff that I have is legitimate.
Mhm.
I stand behind it until I'm proven that it wasn't real. I stand behind it. And I guess in a way I'm sacrificing that evidence to put that message out there that I believe in this, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much I believe it's real. You have destroyed the legitimacy of it
Yeah.
because you decided that things weren't moving fast enough for you. I don't care what he says. I know that monetizing was and is important to him.
Yeah.
And he pretends like it isn't and that it would discredit everything. But that's the least of his worries at this
Mhm.
point. There have been other people who have
Yes.
debunked things, which I haven't watched any of those debunks. I
Yeah.
specifically chose not to watch them because I didn't want to have any kind of influence on the things that I saw. I just wanted to present what I saw as I saw it. Make
Yeah, you
yeah,
didn't want to be contaminated in your
And
exactly.
even though whatever reason you will find, like, oh well, I needed more subs, or I needed the money that
Mhm.
YouTube will generate. Well, I am monetized,
Mhm.
and I have 26,000 subscribers,
Wow.
and if I make $100 in 1 month, I'm lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at
Yeah.
30,000 subscribers, don't tell me that the guy was making money at a payload.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and even with the stuff that he pulled out, he's not at, like, I don't know, 500,000 subscribers or a million subscribers. He's at
Mhm.
200,000. That's
Right.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
really awesome. But once those 200,000 people realize that they are being dragged in the mud,
Mhm.
well, that's gonna fall down.
Yeah. It already
And
has started. I mean,
Yeah.
he still has the numbers, but his views are plummeting. I mean, I
well,
think the only thing at this
that's
point keeping him
everybody in the
relevant is
paranormal
yeah.
nowadays. All the views, but when you are caught faking and you are shown and you are people go on say, hey, look, got caught there, got caught there, got
Yeah.
caught there, and so people, even if they to their core believe it, there's one day they're gonna wake up and say, well, that's bullshit.
Right.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah. 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 And I've been blessed enough to help people get to that point. This
Yep.
is bullshit. Like what I'm happy to, I mean, educating people in to learn what to look for. That's
Yep.
something that I love about, these people I was talking, Beardo and Purple. They're very good at that.
Mhm.
Joe Vitale, I think, is also somebody who's really good at
Yes.
doing that.
Yep.
Crow of Judas, another guy that's
Mhm.
I love the
Yeah.
way he's very
Hey,
raw.
Mhm.
I
Um,
investigated with Matt on the Queen Mary.
mhm,
We rented a suite for 2 nights on the Queen Mary. And even Matt was surprised sometimes, but, well, sometimes answers that would give, yes, I work with Spirit Talker because I know the creator and I know the device.
mhm,
I know the program. And people that come and say, well, it listens to you. No, it is.
hmm.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is
that
not.
Ovilus that we used was also, it wasn't connected to the internet. It was so primitive. So
Yeah.
the stuff, the fact that it said Jimmy, that one was really surprising to me. It's like, well, that's really strange. Now,
Yeah.
there is a VGA port on it, and Kent told me that that was meant to, you hook it up to your computer and it would create like a notepad file of all of the words that were said during that session. We didn't
Yeah.
do that. So I don't,
Oh,
again, that's
wow.
his
No.
information. I don't know if that's true. I can't get my hands on that particular Ovilus. They don't make them
Mhm.
anymore. Um, I would love to get my hands on one to see what that thing's capable of. But as far as I know, it's not manipulated. You can't manipulate it like some of these
And
apps
even
that
though
people are using.
an Ovilus, you'll take the most expensive box out there, the Ovilus 5, that
Uh-huh.
sells now for $700.
Why?
It's an
Exactly.
app.
Yeah.
It's an app.
Yeah.
Because it's not in that box. Well,
Mhm.
oh, that's the real thing. But in the app that you got in your phone, that's not good.
Yeah.
Why the most powerful computer that you have in your pockets won't be good enough?
Back in the day, I wouldn't bring a cell phone into an investigation, anyways.
I
But
was like that. I was like,
mm,
you're coming in, everybody on airplane mode and everything.
no,
Now I
not
can
not
decide.
even.
Now I can decipher between if I have a K2 hit, somebody's phone is on.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
will tell
Look
it.
at it.
And even though I don't, I will still work with K2s because if you have a static cam, you'll put a K2 in front of it, and sometimes you'll have something, sometimes you'll have nothing. But I have another device. It detects EMF and electricity.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And sometimes people will mistake EMF for electricity
Hmm.
True. True.
Yeah.
because I've took my device and I've shown Matt. I said, look, I'm gonna show you a TV doesn't radiate EMF. It radiate electricity. And I showed
Hmm.
it. The voltage per meter went haywire. The milligauss was at 0.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Well, on that note, guess what, guys? The time has come. James, it's been a blast, and I would love to have you back on.
And
Yeah.
I can't wait
Anytime.
for that part 3 because
Yes, look forward to part 3.
Yeah.
if
Me
you
too.
have more, I want to know more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate the enthusiasm and thank you for having me on. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part of it. And my father was a radio DJ growing up.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, and being a part of being on radio, that's kind of you're hitting me in the feels there. Now, I don't think everybody appreciates radio the way they should, and I
Sorry for the technical issues, though,
oh
there in the beginning.
no,
So,
It's
so
Glad-
technology.
yeah.
Technology
I
sometimes
put out
goes
into the
wrong.
universe. I put out into the universe. This is going to go fine. They're going to solve this. Everything's going to go well. And I'm not joking. Just a few minutes later, hey, here's the link. And I was like, good deal. Good deal.
Well, sir, we would love to have you back on. And
Anytime.
and look forward to part 3. All the necessary links are in the description, and I've passed them out to various other places to go check out Ghost Quest, and of course the documentary. Do check it out. The Ghost of Carmel. Or sorry, I want to keep saying Mount Carmel. I don't know why.
Goats are
The Ghost of
Carmel.
Carmel, Maine.
Carmel,
Mount
Maine.
Carmel. Why do I want to say Mount Carmel?
I would visit. I mean, if it's made of caramel, I'm there, man.
Yeah.
Well, we have them on Carmel in Manitoba, and no, it's Saint Boniface.
Yeah.
We have them on Carmel right here in Quebec.
There's a Carmel, Indiana, too, not too far away from.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's everywhere.
All right, guys. Take
Thank
care.
you so much,
James,
Jimmy.
thanks again, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime. Thank you
Have
very
a-
much. I appreciate you.
Have a good evening, guys.
You too.
Good night. Thanks for everybody listening on New Visions Radio Network, and again, watching us here on YouTube and Twitch. Have a good evening.